You are listening to Proof Text, a Glossa House podcast exploring scripture with Dr. T. Michael W. Halcomb and Dr. Fredrick J. Long. Welcome and enjoy.
Hello and welcome to Proof Text. I'm Michael Halcomb. I'm here with Fred Long, and this is a Grammar Point episode where we're talking more about, wait for it, verbs, because we've been talking about verbs forever. We've been on the kick of verbal mood, grammatical mood, and we've looked at indicative, looked at imperative, and I believe today we're thinking about the subjunctive, sort of just in general. So, Fred, when it comes to the subjunctive, what are we dealing with? What is the subjunctive?
It is a mood of future possibility, volition, or deliberation. So future possibility, volition, that is like, what do I intend, or what am I hoping for? And then also deliberation, like what am I thinking or pondering about? So it's a very diverse mood. It does a lot. There's a lot of diversity with the subjunctive mood. And the constructions, there's like 9 different constructions. Some of these constructions with the subjunctive mood are independent, like constructions like independent clauses, and then you have dependent or subordinate clauses. And so it's really, we can't do it in this episode to talk about those different constructions, but just to say that the subjunctive mood is pretty complex. It's negated by may, forms of may, and I should have said that with the imperative mood last episode, that may is typically negated by the adverb may, not. You do have a construction with the subjunctive mood with oo may, which is called emphatic negation. So the negative adverb oo and negative adverb may combine together and they occur right next to each other in that order, oo and then immediately may. And with the subjunctive, typically to make a very strong denial. If you want to ramp that up, you could change the subjunctive, switch it out for a future indicative, and then you have a very even stronger denial. So in terms of mood, and we didn't even talk about this with our tense with the imperative mood, the present tense conveys that verbal aspect of imperfective, which is kind of ongoing, habitual, repeated, and the aorist kind of views it as a whole. So those kind of categories come in to the understanding of what the subjunctive mood is doing. So when looking outside the indicative mood, which has 5 or 6, 7 different tenses, you need to pay attention to the limited options of tenses, aorist and present, the main options, and so that becomes particularly important to look at when looking at the subjunctive mood. So it's used of deliberative questions like what should we do? It can be used with the aorist, subjunctive, and may as a prohibition. I'm reviewing some of the moods, some of the functions here. We can say, let us do something, which is, I call that the polite, healthy command because it's let us do something. It's very healthy. It's a way to include yourself in the obligation of what is expected to be done. So that's called a hortatory subjunctive. It can be used for negative purpose clauses with ina may, or sometimes even may or may pote. The subjunctive can be used for purpose clauses or negative purpose clauses. And then you have a host of other kinds of constructions, conditions, other subordinate clauses. So yeah, subjunctive mood. The formation, we didn't even talk about the formation, but the formation is not too bad. Really, it uses the same endings with then just a sigma added for the aorist tense. Right. So that's kind of a nice thing. So endings wise, the endings have like a little elongated vowel before the main ending, and but it follows a really nice pattern. So yeah, that's the subjunctive mood.
And I remember when we were working on the illustrated Mark and the illustrated John, we wrestled quite a bit from time to time with rendering, translating some of the subjunctives. The words in English like would versus should, versus
or
could.
may or
Yeah,
might.
yeah,
And
may
people
or
think that may
might.
or might works. Yeah. What do
Yeah.
you remember about that? Was it kind of painful, or were you on board with what?
No, I think it's yeah, I think it's interesting, right, to try to work through those. Sometimes like something like would, really works, that you would have
Well,
this.
purpose clause. Yeah,
Yeah.
purpose, I think,
Versus that you should
or
have
may,
this, that you may, right?
may.
So,
Yeah.
um,
In
yeah.
fact, I
Anyways,
can't even. But a lot of my, I cut you off. I'm sorry.
no, go ahead. Yeah.
I was going to say a lot of students and even advanced students in our program, they will translate subjunctive with a may or might. And I just tell them, I look at them and I say it repeatedly. I say, I don't think any construction with the subjunctive is properly translated with may or might. But
Hmm.
for some reason, beginning students get this in their head that this conveys like uncertainty or something. No, the subjunctive mood, it needs to be translated by construction. And again, like I said, I can't think of any constructions that regularly use may or might, or maybe even at all use may or might.
I wonder if that's I mean, you're located in Kentucky. Like, I wonder if that's a cultural thing, because might is a very common modal. Linguistic, that's what we call them, a modal.
Yeah, yeah.
Then you also have the very southern modal might could. I know that's not
Mm,
as prominent in like Lexington, but the further south you
yeah.
get, might could becomes a very prominent sort of modal. So I wonder if that bend toward using may and might is actually more of a cultural thing based on.
I don't think so. I think
You
it's
don't think so?
pedagogical. I don't, because I'm talking about students from who are literally from all over the world, certainly all over the states and
Maybe.
even Canada. I think it's I think I remember and I think I remember seeing a lot of textbooks saying may or might. This is the mood of possibility,
Yeah,
may or
yeah, yeah.
might.
That's true. Um,
So I
it's
think
interesting. Just on a related note to that, there's an interesting modal that's used here in Hawaii. I've never heard it used anywhere else. The same way that we in Kentucky they might use might could, which sounds crazy to a lot of
mhm,
people to say.
yeah.
Could you ham it? Could you go to the store for me? I might could go tomorrow. I might could go tomorrow. People are like, that sounds insane, right? Well, here, a really interesting modal that they have is if in case, and it's not using if. It's not using if like in the way that, if I get a chance, like, it's not working that way. But if in case I come later, just have this ready. I guess maybe he's using if a little bit, but if in case. It's a really fascinating
Idiom.
one.
Yeah, might come, might could. I think the might stands for maybe. Maybe I could come tomorrow. It's just like a shorthand. Might could.
Same thing. In
Maybe
case
could.
here stands for maybe. If maybe you could come later, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, but yeah, it's interesting to pick up on these things, these like linguistic differences, but yeah. Well, anyways, that's a tangent. But all right,
Fun.
thanks for watching and listening. We hope the Grammar Point episodes help, and hope to get back in a more beautiful setting next time. But it's what it is. Yeah. So if you're watching or listening, hit the like, follow, subscribe, share button. I hope that helps.
Interested in growing your ancient language skills but not sure where to start? Glossa House can help. From illustrated readers and short stories to lexicons and grammars, Glossa House offers a variety of resources for beginning, intermediate, and experienced ancient language learners. Head to glossahouse.com today. Glossa House, language resources for the global community.